Okay, so what we're going to do is have a look at 2-point perspective, and this has actually been sitting in this material area here, this additional graphics materials. What it didn't have for the 2-point perspective was a kind of a video guide. There was one in 1-point perspective, but I've done another one earlier on with the first group. We did 1-point perspective, and with you guys I'm going to do 2-point perspective. So this one's actually the trickier of the two. Okay, it might take a little bit longer to do than this one did. We kind of finished this one in about 25 minutes, which was pretty good going. So we'll have a look at this. Just show you the material. So the guides for this kind of came from Rendow Yee's book, which had a nice little kind of perspective drawing exercise in it, which I've used for quite a while. If you want to kind of try it yourself, there's a worksheet, and this is the plan and elevation of La Défense in Paris. So have a look at a photograph of the building just to kind of acclimatise yourself with it. Okay, but this is the kind of technicalities of setting the thing up, and it is fairly involved, and it's tricky to kind of show in kind of printed form like this. It's very tricky, so that's why a kind of a video guide works a bit better. Okay, just have a look at the 1-point perspective material. So the example that comes from Yee's book is, you know, a fairly crude affair, but it gets over the principle very nicely. So there is a kind of a CAD drawn work through of this, and doing these on CAD seems kind of a bit strange that you know effectively it's a hand drawing kind of process, but you're kind of doing it on CAD. But it's actually quite easy, because you get rid of all the lines as you work. You end up with a nice clearer way of working. When you do it by hand, you end up with hundreds of lines, and it's quite difficult sometimes to see what you're doing. So you know, this is what a hand-drawn version of this worksheet would look like. So you can see, you know, there's lots and lots of lines all coming to the same place, and it tends to look quite messy in the end. But you know, you could have a go at this with the Barcelona Pavilion section instead, and do this in CAD, and I think you'll find it's quite useful and quite enjoyable, and it's quick. It saves you kind of heading off to kind of knock up something in 3D when actually you've got the information already. It just takes a little bit of arrangement, and you can set things up quite easily. So we will jump to Autocad. Okay, where are you? We want to be in. I'll firstly look at just show you the 1-point perspective first. Okay, just show you what we did with the other group. Okay, so the setup is pretty much similar. We've got a part of the plan. So this is the back pool of the pavilion with the little statue plinth. Okay, and we've also got some of the main plinth available as well. And so that plan is sitting against what we call this picture plane. So this is like the slice through the building. Okay, and then we decide where we're going to stand in relation to that. Okay, the lower the angle that you're kind of creating, the smaller the angle. This is called the field of view. Okay, the smaller the angle is, the less perspective will be generated. Okay, so if you compare these two, okay, this had a 50 degree, was it 55? This was a 50 degree field of view, and this was an 88 degree field of view. Okay, and we're not stood that far away in relation. The station points are fairly similar distance away, but you can see there's much more distortion on this view compared to this one. Okay, well actually this is twice as far away with a narrower view and a lot less perspective. This is close up with a wide view. We're getting a lot of perspective distortion. This one probably looks the most comfortable, and basically it's set up so that it's exactly in the middle of the plan. So that's why it kind of has that kind of more balanced feel to it. Okay. The other decision that you make when you're doing a perspective is where the horizon line goes. So if you put the horizon line fairly high, then you're seeing a lot more of what's happening on the ground. If you put the horizon line low and the vanishing point down low, then we're seeing more of what's happening up in the sky instead. Okay, so that's the kind of the setup for a 1-point perspective. But like I say, we're going to have a look at a 2-point perspective, which is quite a bit different beast. Okay, so the initial material is the same. We need a section or an elevation that we can take heights from, and we need a plan of the building with any relevant kind of changes in height visible. So if there's an area of the building that's lower than another one, we need to indicate that in the plan. Okay, but you'll notice that this time the plan isn't lined up with the picture plane. Okay, it's at an angle to the picture plane so that we can generate 2 vanishing points. Okay, so we don't want to be stood here, because effectively that would generate just a 1-point perspective, and we don't want to stand just here. We're generally just getting a 1-point perspective again. Okay, we're needing to kind of experiment with the position to get something that's going to give us an interesting viewpoint. Okay, so it is a little bit more trial and error than the 1-point perspective. You do have to kind of experiment a bit to get what you need. Okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of set things up, but on this side instead. So what I'll do is I'll copy some of these features across. So we'll take the picture plane first. Okay, and I'm going to copy the plan. Oops. We'll copy the plan over to here. Okay, but I'm just going to turn it around. I'm going to rotate the plan. So I'm going to give it an arbitrary angle. Okay, so let's go a little bit steeper this time. Let's go a wee bit steeper. Okay, but I need the corner of the plan to touch the picture plane. Okay, so I'm going to move these from end point to nearest, NEA. So that corner of the plinth is touching the picture plane. Okay, we've got 2 pink lines here. Okay, one of them is parallel to effectively the front of the plan, to the face of the building, and this one is parallel to the side of the building. Okay, now bear with me with this because I haven't done this very often, so to say I'm a bit rusty would be an understatement. Okay, what we need to do now is choose a place to stand. So what I'll do with this one is copy this station point, and then we're choosing where we're going to stand. So this is quite, you know, a bit trial and error. So I think we'll get a bit further away with this one, so we get a bit less perspective. So I'm going a bit further away than the previous one, you can see there. And we also want the field of view to be less than 60 degrees. So what I'm going to do is draw a line from the corner to the station point to this corner, and it's this angle that we want to be less than 60 degrees. So I'm going to ask the computer what the angle is between there. It looks less than 60, but I'm just going to check. So let's get the command to work. It's being a bit sticky. Let me try again. That's better. 43 degrees, that's kind of bang in the middle. So it wants to be more than 30 and less than 60. So that's a decent kind of field of view that we've got there. So what what is field of view? I've got a little demonstration here that kind of explains it. I hope it kind of clears it up in more kind of photographic terms. Okay, so what I've got here is my eye looking through a shape, and if you take the shape to be, say, a roll of sellotape, okay, and you held that up to your eye, what you end up with is a very large field of view. Okay, there's not much of a sellotape roll that's going to get in the way of your viewing through it. Okay, so if we were stood, 100 meters away from this building, okay, and we took the photograph, then I just need to make a little change on this for a second. If you hold on, actually, so just undo a few. That's better. There we go. Don't need to do that. Okay, and we took the photograph. In this situation, that's kind of what it would look like. The building wouldn't look very big on the photograph because we've got a big field of view. There's lots of space to either side of the building. Okay. Now, if instead of a sellotape roll, you looked through an empty kitchen roll, okay, it's quite different. Okay, the building's in the same place. We're stood in the same place. But the photograph is going to look more like this. We've only got a very small amount of space either side of the building, just a small amount of space. Okay, if we put those together and then made the photographs the same size, my object snaps aren't working here. Come on, I got them all switched off. I have for some reason. Okay, if I now scale this up to be the same size as the one above, okay, then that's really what's happening with our photographs, because the photographs aren't any different size-wise. When you use your telephone, the images in pixels are always the same size. It's just the content is different. Okay, so a wide field of view, a wide angle images look like this, and a telephoto, a narrow field of view, the photographs are going to look like that. And that's what you're seeing here with this image. Okay, wide angle photograph, telephoto photograph from the same position. Okay, the objects in reality aren't any bigger, they aren't any closer, it's just that we can see less of what's around them. I always find that telescopes are a bit of a con. I don't think they make things any bigger. They just restrict your view so they appear bigger. Okay, so here's what a wide-angle camera lens looks like, and this bolts on to the front of what we call a body of the camera. Okay, and a telephoto lens. This is a fairly big one, a fairly chunky one. The handle here is for mounting it on a tripod, because there's so much glass in these that they actually weigh a heck of a lot. And the capability of this one is from the lens can extend from 200mm to 400mm. That's not the actual length, it's the equivalent in photographic length. Okay, but when you see kind of photographers around the edges of stadiums, they're always using kind of lenses of this kind of type, even bigger, more expensive versions, because they're set up to be able to record a very quick photograph, even with a zoom lens. And usually zoom lenses are quite dark. They don't allow much light in, because the light has to kind of get all the way down the tube. So they're more difficult to work with. So the type of lenses and type of equipment that these people use, the lens alone could be about £5,000, no problem. They're really expensive equipment. The paparazzi, they've got just a second or two to grab the photograph of, Meghan Markle or the criminal, or get those two mixed up, but same thing. Okay, if you're considering, investing in a decent camera, then a DSLR camera does give you the most kind of capability, where you have a standard lens, so you have a lens that's kind of in the middle of these two, and that's usually the lens that it comes with the camera. It's called a stock kind of lens, and then you would often add a wide angle lens for your kind of interiors and large building shots and landscapes, and then a telephoto lens is really good for capturing details of buildings. You know, if you can't get that close to it, you know, a zoom lens helps you kind of get that photo and that you might not be able to get again. You have to kind of choose carefully. There's not that many makers of DSLR cameras. You've got kind of Nikon, Canon, and Sony, and when you choose one of those manufacturers, you're kind of tied to them. So you know, you make that decision carefully, read reviews, but once you start buying lenses, that's when you're really kind of tied in, and you know, it becomes your collection. You know, I've went down the Canon route for years, so I've got, you know, a fairly big collection of some new, some second-hand lenses, but the lenses are actually worth more than my camera, than the actual body. So you know, you keep the lenses, but you swap the body every few years for a better version, one that's got, you know, more capability. So the lenses don't change much. It's the camera bodies that change quite a bit. You know, the amount of pixels they can shoot, and battery life, and the quality of the screens, and touch screens at the back, and these kind of features. But you know, it's a really good kind of skill to have, being able to take a half decent photograph. You know, really useful for your own collecting your own material. You'll find it, you know, worth getting into now. Don't buy new, buy second-hand. There's millions of these things on eBay. Go to something like jessups.com and they'll source you a good second-hand one that's been checked over. So enough of that. We're talking about perspectives here, not photography. So let's get back to here. But this is the field of view kind of explanation. Okay, so let's kind of build on what we've got here. So I'm just going to move this across just a little bit further. I think we need a little bit more space. Okay, so I'm going to take that dimension away, and what we do is we take these two lines and move them onto the station point. Okay, so I'm just going to move these two. So that one goes there, and this one goes there. So between those two is 90 degrees. Okay, it can be different, it depends on the shape of your building. It doesn't have to be necessarily 90 degrees. Okay, and what we do is make these hit the picture plane. So extend to this picture plane, pop them out, okay, and then we want to bring these down. Okay, so we'll bring these down. Okay, let's just match the colours to what we've got over here, just so we kind of keep the story going. Okay. Okay, there's a critical position here. It's where the design, where the plan or whatever touches the picture plane. That's what we call the heights line. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's in line with the vanishing point. Doesn't have to be. Okay, but this is the heights line, and this makes it much easier to transfer the heights from the section or from the elevation across to the perspective. So I'll match that to that. Let's just copy this across as well, copy the bit of text. So that's our heights line. Okay. Right. Next decision is the horizon line. We've kind of discussed that already with in the 1-point perspective. So the choice of the position of the horizon line is going to affect what we see. So let's go for something a little bit different. Let's have a horizon line that's a bit higher in this version. Okay, so we'll copy this across. Okay, but we'll move it up a bit. Let's move it up a bit. So let's be in line with the eyes of this. Should we go in line with the eyes of the sculpture? We could do. Okay, we don't have to keep things in the same positions. We can move this section down. So let's say where the eyes of the sculpture are. Okay, and we'll move the horizon line so they're in line with the eyes of the sculpture. Okay, things are going to be a bit kind of messy there. I think what we'll do is we'll move these items a bit further down. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down just to give us a bit of space to work. Okay, so our perspective is going to kind of develop in this area here. Okay, so it's these 2 points that are important. It's where these pink lines cross the horizon line, and that's where our vanishing points are going to be. So I'll copy this vanishing point to here. Okay, I need to add another couple of object snaps here. They seem to have all given up on me. Node and intersection, I think. Okay, and we'll copy this vanishing point over to this one. Okay, let's just extend the heights line a little bit further. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just show you that the heights, we need to identify the position on the section that is touching the picture plane. Okay, so that's that circle there, where the plinth is touching the picture plane. It's this point here. Okay, so that is our ground line. We could put a ground line in there as well. Okay, let's just pop it here and then move it along a bit. Okay, so as you see, it's quite a bit of setting up before we've done any perspective work at all. We've got to kind of establish, you know, the setup for this drawing. Okay, we'll do this a few times, and you know, it kind of sinks in pretty quick, and you start to be able to kind of work fairly methodically. Okay, right, let's try and get, you know, things moving now. Okay, I think we'll start with the plinth. Okay, we'll get the block shape for the plinth. So imagine there's a line going across here as well. Okay, so that's the actual kind of shape of the plan. Okay, so what we're looking at is where these projections cross the picture plane. Okay, let's take a line down from there. Don't know how far to take it just yet, so we just let it go through, and a line down from here where the projection crosses the picture plane. Okay. The height at that point will be at the ground. We're definitely coming from this point, okay, but we also need the height of the plinth. So we project that across from the section. So we take this across to the heights line, perpendicular. Okay, and now we project up to the vanishing point. Okay, so we go from here to the vanishing point. Okay, from here to this vanishing point. Okay, so that's the top of the plinth. Okay, the bottom of the plinth comes from here. So we go from there to the vanishing point, and from there to the vanishing point. So you can start to see it already. There's a perspective building up in this area. Okay, so the finished drawing is going to be a fair bit smaller than what we've got up here. That's just the nature of it. You can see it here. It's quite dinky compared to the plan. You know, you basically lose control of the scale the heights are only correct in one position on the heights line. Okay, so let's tidy that up. So we now just chop these away. Okay, what about the back of the plinth? Okay, so we kind of pretend that it's see-through. So we need to kind of get rid of lines as we go, because we end up with too many. So we can lose these projections once they've been done. Okay, now we can go to the back of the plinth, take it to the station point. Let's just bring the text over so we remember that what that's called. Okay, and where this crosses the picture plane, that gives us the depth of the object. Okay, so we should find that there's an intersection if we join this to the vanishing point and we join this to the other vanishing point. They cross over exactly at the point where we brought the line down. Okay, we could put hidden line detail in there as well if we want. So let's put the base thickness in. Okay, same again, everything's nicely meeting at the right place. Okay, and these three lines, if you can understand the 3D from your screen, should be hidden. If I change those to hidden line type, you can kind of understand the perspective of it. Let's just move this bit of text out of the way because it's going to sit right in the way, isn't it? Okay, so that's, you know, in very basic terms, that's the plinth done. It doesn't have the cutout for the water yet, so that's what we'll do next. So we need a line at the corner here. Okay, and so we move on to the next kind of object, which would be the walls. So let's see if we can get these walls in. You know, I don't want this to take too long, I don't want to bore you with this, but you know, it's good to kind of see it build up. You can just sit back, get a coffee, and so we'll do the outside shape of the walls first. Let's put all the lines on that we need. Okay, we need a height for those walls, and that's going to come from here. So even though the wall is set back, what we do is we kind of plot it kind of coming straight off and against the heights line. So we bring that from here perpendicular to the heights line. Okay, and then go to the vanishing point and go to this vanishing point. Okay, but then we need to bring the lines down from where these projections cross the picture plane. So let's see where this one takes us. Okay, we would trim it here. Okay, let's take this one. Okay, so we can project from this point, because this is where the wall hits the top of the plinth. We can take that back over to here, and it trims off the bottom of this line. Okay, we go from this one, so actually that one isn't needed, it's more this position back to the vanishing point, and that chops off the top of that wall. Okay, let's find out where the other end of the wall is. So we've got these kind of box sitting on top of a box. Okay, this one chops off the top of that, and then we're kind of looking at a hidden line in a way. Oh dear, my phone is ringing, but I'll just ignore it. Somebody doesn't know I'm teaching today. Okay, sorry, taking this from the wrong point and getting distracted by that telephone. They're not giving up. They'll have to, because they ain't stopping. Okay, so we'll take this line back to the vanishing point. Okay, and if we take this one to the vanishing point, they should intersect exactly at the same point. Okay, we need a line coming back from here. So there's a lot of line drawing, you know, obviously lots of it, lots of line drawing. But as you can see, it's all super accurate, and that's kind of why it's kind of quite nice to do these on CAD, because you get the accuracy. You can see how absolutely accurate all this projection works. So we can chop a wee bit away now. We don't need the height anymore, we've established that. And we can chop away that. So do you start to see the section starting to appear? Okay, we can now kind of cut into that, and then we'll eventually lose this line because it is open to the top. We don't have a roof on that. Okay, and these lines wouldn't be visible. They're actually kind of, you know, through the other side of the wall, but we can delete those afterwards. So these lines have done, so we can kind of clear up as we go. So we'll go into here. So we're looking at the inside box now. Okay, and again pulling lines down. Okay, so that's the back corner inside. And it's all to do with this picture plane. If you don't project from where the lines cut the picture plane, it all goes very wrong. Okay, so you start to see this kind of box inside the box, like a kind of goldfish tank. So we chop these two off, project back to there. This one's not much to work with there, but it's with CAD it works okay. Okay, and we're going from this one back down to this side. And that is giving us the top of the wall. We can fill it that. Okay, over here it's all a bit difficult to see what's going on because everything's very shallow angles wise. Okay, but we should be able to now trim away using these two lines. We've then got our kind of open topped box. The pool is a bit deeper, so this is where the height comes through again. We come along to the heights line, then off to the vanishing point, and that gives us where we can chop these, and then we need to go to the other vanishing point. And lastly, from intersection to intersection. And that line should, in theory, hit the vanishing point. Let's just see if it does. Perfect. Okay, we join these two together. Join these two together, and then to that one. Okay, and then we can chop away at the front here. We can get rid of that line, and we can chop away that and delete this. Looking good. Okay, what I'm going to do is just extend the ground slightly so we can make it look a bit more like the section. Okay, let's just chop this away. And if I make these the same colour as the section, you'll kind of get a better idea of what's happening here. So this is our section. Okay, does that make sense? And we've got quite a lot of lines that wouldn't be visible. You know, do we miss them out, or do we actually just show them as dashed? You could end up with too many lines. So what I'm going to do here is break these. So there is an option to kind of make them, put them on a different layer that you could just switch off. Rather than just have lots and lots of broken lines. Okay, that would be visible, but this one would be hidden. So I'm using the MA command to match properties, and that's a nice quick way of changing the look of things. So we've got another couple of invisible lines that we wouldn't see. We wouldn't see those 3. And we wouldn't see the bottom one here. But I quite like the way it kind of appears more technical. We don't need to see the horizon line now, so we can actually hide that. We don't really need to see the ground line just now, so we can hide that. But you know, it's got a nice, you know, technical kind of feeling to it that you don't really get if you use kind of 3D software. So you know, just not everything, you know, we don't need to kind of necessarily run to computers for everything. I know I'm drawing this on a computer obviously, but you know, this could be manually drawn, and you know, even just as a sketch kind of proposal, it's quite attractive. Let's put the water level on. So this is a bit lower than the marble level, so we come across to the heights line, then off to the vanishing point. Okay, from here to the other vanishing point. Okay, from here, I'll not do the invisible stuff on this one because it's it would take a bit too long. We want to go from here to the vanishing point and then extend that over to there. Okay, so that's our water. Let's just make that blue so we can understand it. Chop off there. Okay, now the statue, I think is, oh, it's just, I don't know if it's going to be out of sight. I think it actually is. Let's see if the plinth. No, we wouldn't see it. We wouldn't see the statue because that line is obscured by this wall. So we wouldn't get a clear view of the statue, but we could put it in hidden. What we'll do first is put in the divisions on the walls, so we get the paneling. So we're finished with these lines, and then we're considering the paneling. Don't need to do this one because it's on this side of a wall we can't see. I think this one's out of sight as well. Yeah, that's out of sight. I don't think we'll bother with that one. Okay, but we will do these 4. So we've got these little node points are indicating where the marble panels are broken, are subdivided. Okay, so I'm not taking them all away because I'll just get rid of some of these lines first. Okay, then move those down. So that's our marble panel divisions. Okay, now these go just above the water, so we just need a little tweak here. We can use this line. Okay, extend it across to here. Okay, we can use no, we do have to set this one up fresh. We haven't got a line we can use there. We need to go from here to here. and then from here to the other vanishing point. Okay, we'll just extend that one to there and fillet the two together. Okay, so that's correct. The change at the corner. Right, so that line is the bottom of the marble. Okay, so we'll extend these down and then trim them off. Okay, the horizontals for the marble, it's this height divided by 3, but better to take it across from the section just to be safe. So we set up the heights for the marble divisions. Okay, I can chop those off there, make things a bit easier to see. Delete those two. Take this to the other vanishing point. Okay, trim those two. Okay, those have done their job. We then go back to this vanishing point and then extend them to hit the wall. Chop those off, and that's our marble panels all set out in proper perspective. Okay, the cube that the statue is sitting on, this is really the kind of trickiest bit, and this is kind of sitting on its own in the middle of the plan. It's a bit trickier to work with, so what we need to do here is actually extend these lines back to this wall. Okay, so I'm going to go perpendicular, because we can get to that point by coming this way or by coming this way. Okay, we can't get to these points because they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. We don't have anything to relate to them. But if we can get to this point, we're in business. Okay, so we take these two lines to the station point and pull a couple of lines down from where they cross the picture plane, and let's get rid of these two diagonals. Okay, let's move these two down. Okay, and we're looking for these positions. Okay, so if we extend this line, the bottom of the marble, if we extend that across just temporarily, we've got a place to work with. Okay, we trim off the bottom of them using the bottom of the pool, so that's the shape against the wall, but it gives us something we can work from. So it sets up the diagonals going back to this point. Okay, so our plinth is coming out from there. It comes out from this shape on the wall. Imagine us being able to extrude that shape. You know, in SketchUp you kind of pull and push. If we had that shape, we'd be able to pull it this way. Okay, let's find the other points now. So we need the actual corners of the cube. Okay, so we need to kind of remember which is which. Okay, so these two are near and these two are far. So it gets a little bit trickier to work with. Okay, so it's far, near, far, near. From the right, so it's far, near, far, near. Get rid of these, too many lines, and we'll bring these down now. Well, let's see if we can make head or tail of this. This is getting really tricky to kind of visualize now. Okay. Yeah, the plinth is completely covered by the wall. I thought it would be because it's far near. Okay, so this is near. This is near. Take a line across the top. Near, near. Line across the front. That's just a fluke that those two lines seem to be sitting on top of each other. Okay, so we've got a shape there. So that's the front of the cube, and this gives us the back of the cube. That's the wall, that's okay. So these two should join up, and we chop off these. Ooh, heavy duty. That was a bit heavy going. Okay, we could use that line again. Actually, there is another use for this. We're needing to find the height of the statue. So our statue stands on that cube. Okay, and it's standing right in the middle. So I'm just going to draw a little circle where the statue should be stood. Okay, but we need to establish the height of the statue. So this is where we've got to kind of run a line around the walls. So let's get the height of the statue across to the height line, over to the vanishing point. Okay, but then we can bring the height information back this way. From there to the vanishing point, and from there to this vanishing point. Okay, so I don't know if you can kind of follow that. We brought the height across, came back on the other side of the wall, along the back wall, and we just need the middle of where the statue would be if it was pushed against the wall. So it's this position here, because this is all in space. We can't plot to that. We need to bring the height from that position. Oh, it's all very nippy here, as they say. Okay, let's bring that down. Okay, and this should be the height of the statue. Let's just get rid of some of these lines. Okay, so that's the height. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, now we go from there back to this vanishing point. Okay, we need a vertical line straight up from the circle, so this will help establish the height of the statue and join those two together. So that is the height of the statue. Get rid, delete all this stuff. I'll keep the shape on the top, so that's our statue should be that high. So let's bring her across. From the midpoint there to there. So you can see it does need reduced in height, and if we bring it down to this circle, to the center of that circle, it should be basically in the right height. So we scale the base point at the bottom here. I don't know what size to use, so we use a reference. The reference is the height on the statue as it is at the moment, so it's from here to roughly here, and then as we come down towards the the height, the statue shrinks proportionally. And there's our statue in position. We could make all of this hidden line because it's all actually out of sight, we can't see it. Now I made that hidden line, but it's not showing up as a broken line, only where there's a long enough portion. There's a now I'm trying to remember the command, L type gen, yeah, L type, I think it's in the pedit command, PE, so short for pedit. You pick the polyline, and then one of the options in there is line type generation. And what this does, it says, I don't care if you're made up of lots of small segments, I'm just going to let you be dashed. So line type gen, and we switch that on. And so even though it's made up of tiny portions, it still shows as a continuous dashed line. I don't think you can match that from one object to another. Oh, you can. Good. You can now. Good. So we've matched that property, so we've properly got our little statue hidden there. I think I've made a wrong line hidden there. Let's just put that back. That's better. And if we hide the heights line, that's us done. There's our fantastic section. We can make this a bit more prominent if we just copy some of these yellow items for the more important features. We'll just pick up some of these lines as yellow instead. Just makes the perspective look a bit stronger. Okay, do that, but that line is partially hidden, so that's hidden as well. So like I say, you could actually kind of get rid of all the dash lines and it would be cleaner. Let me just see if I can do that quickly. If I just pick all these, so that's it without the hidden lines. Not sure which I prefer. I quite like seeing all those hidden lines. It looks more techy, looks more kind of crafted in that respect. Okay, so that was, you know, pretty tough one. 2-point perspective. You know, it's a case of kind of setting up, remembering that you can't have a field of view larger than 60, and you don't want to be in a position where you can only see one side of the object. It's not going to work. You're going to end up with a vanishing point kind of inside the model, and it gets really messy then. So you do have to kind of be a little bit kind of canny with your station point. But these two are looking a fair bit different. You know, you can see that this one's seeing more of the water surface, and because we put the horizon line further up, this one's seeing less of the surface because the horizon line's a bit further down. Okay, I think that will do on that one, and that recording will end up in with the other material. I'll tidy this drawing up slightly. I'll just move things apart a bit and make sure there's a section available for both of them. Okay.